I have to start off by saying I'm feeling very, very humbled here, because this is the busiest the Conservative benches have ever been for me talking on this issue. Now, just to start off, unfortunately I have to start off on quite a negative point, because as the Honourable lady said, I wasn't sure where she was from, she's no longer in her space, said, when a Member of Parliament finds themselves being criticised continually for their point of view, whether that be Twitter or meeting people on the street or at surgeries, the response to that should be to go away and reflect and think whether you're actually in the right position and whether you have the correct opinion. You don't turn round and call an entire fantastic intellectual campaign hate-filled. You don't accuse them of having a hate campaign. You listen to them and you form your views. Now, we have debated this now, I believe, 5 times. This is the 5th time that I'm speaking on this. But I think it's important just to reflect back to how we've ended up in this position. Now, it's nearly a year ago today that I stood pretty much about this spot, and I argued for the WASPI campaign, and I argued that this problem was happening, and I explained how it had come about, and I tried to give the government the benefit of the doubt. And we said that you have to accept the government has messed up, you have to accept that problems have been created and that you have to come up with something. Now, it is truly an embarrassment to this House that we are still waiting on a government plan as to how they can make this better. Now, we went away, the SNP, we went away and we paid our own money to get a constructive report made. Now, we could easily have said, get rid of the 95 Act altogether. We could have said 1,000,001 things, but instead we went away and found credible economists. We went away and put together a cracking report, and we tried to build a bridge over which all parties in this House can cross. But instead, well, hold on. If the Minister wants to make an intervention, I'm more than happy to take it. Until then, I suggest he listens. Now, when we put forward this report to the government to listen to, what was the response that we received? At the Westminster Hall debate a couple of weeks back, the Minister said, the government's position is very clear. This was not a contract. State pensions are technically a benefit. Now, this utterly pathetic response shows exactly that this government is determined to wriggle out of its responsibility to these women. The government, and the member up the back said earlier on, that we now say to women that you have to pay in 35 years national insurance and that's how you're entitled to your pension. These women that we're talking about have paid in 40 years, 45 years, some of them 50 years, and yet we're being told that they're still not entitled to their pension. Now, the government are refusing to pay women what they are owed, and I'm sure that is something that the 2.6 million women will remember the next time they find themselves standing at a ballot box in an election. And the honourable member for Weaver Vale said earlier on that Germany put forward these changes in 2009, so what's the problem with us doing it in 2011? Now, I would suggest to the honourable member, who, by the way, has a majority of 806, if I believe correctly, which I imagine consists of a lot of WASPI women who will remember his speech in the next election, I would point out to him that within our report, it shows that in Europe, the only other country, the only other place in Europe that has put forward this level of change at this accelerated pace is Greece. And as I said in the last debate, this is a country who a couple of weeks ago were tear-gassing pensioners who were campaigning and protesting against austerity measures in their country. Is that really what we want to be basing our arguments on? Is that really the kind of country and model that we're wanting to be following here? Now, this has been said 1,000,001 times in this debate, and I've been biting my tongue the whole way through it, but the incredible hypocrisy and lack of knowledge on these benches, and I was going to say on the Conservative benches, but now unfortunately I have to add the Shadow Minister of Labour to this as well. Scotland does not have the power over pensions. Anyone who wants to dispute that, I suggest they go get the Scotland Act, go to section 28, and you will see that out of all the reserved matters that we are entitled to top up, pensions is not included. Now, the other thing that I would want to add to that is that, see, even if we did have the power, to create pensions and to look about and fix pensions, I tell you something, and I think I speak for my colleagues, not just in this chamber, but up the road as well, we are sick to the back teeth of paying and using taxpayers' money to fill all the holes that this government creates. A government with policies that we have never voted for in Scotland, that we actively rejected in the general election. We cannot be expected to plug every single hole that this government creates with their shambolic policies. Now, the government has said that, as the honourable member beside me alluded to earlier on, that the government now says that they will never make changes to pensions unless people have are within 10 years of reaching it. Now, how can you justify that position but not do anything for these women who are being told that they have to wait 6-7 years in order to get their pensions? Now, the honourable member for Bexhill and Battle was saying that, well, first of all, he said that this wasn't in our manifesto. If he goes to the 2016 manifesto of the Scottish elections, page 21, it says that we support WASPI. But second of all, he says that this is bigger. He says that he's voting against us tonight because this is about the younger generations, people in their 20s and 30s. I'm included in that category, funnily enough. And I have to say that this is bigger than just the WASPI generation, because I want to know that when I'm paying national insurance and throughout my working lifetime, that I'm not going to be shafted at the last hurdle, that I'm not going to be told at the last minute that the goalposts are moving. This is bigger. This is about the government setting a precedent that pensions can change, be all, end all, anywhere at any time, and that is not a healthy position for any government to have. Now, this is actually an issue that's bigger than WASPI altogether, because the justification for this change is that we don't have enough money. This is about austerity. But the thing is that austerity is it is women that suffer under austerity. That's what the reality is. No matter whether it be pensioners, whether it be single mothers, whether it be young women, it is always women that bear the brunt of this austerity.
On that point, yes. On affordability, is it not the case that government can look at revisiting the 20 billion of tax giveaways in the last budget, 8.5 billion corporation tax, 5.5 billion capital gains and inheritance tax, higher tax threshold relief? That government can revisit things this forthcoming spring budget.
I think the honourable member has made the point very eloquently there. But the director of the Women's Budget Group, who have done tremendous work, and I would urge the ministers to go away and have a look at this and see the impact that they're having on women's lives because of their detrimental policies. But the director said, "We've known for some time that the poorest households and women have shouldered the greatest burden of austerity measures. In fact, 85% of the burden is forecast to fall on women by 2020. These women are not unfortunate casualties. They are not people who just happen to get unlucky. This government cannot claim ignorance. They cannot plead innocence and not having any idea of the impact that they're about to have on people's lives. These women, for whatever reason, are suffering under Conservative policies for no other crime than the fact that they are female and they are poor. That is the reality of what this government is doing." Now, the legacy that this government is putting forward is absolutely shambolic, and no amount of sympathy from honourable members, no amount of flowery words is going to pay bills for people. It's not going to move things forward. It's not going to make sure that your citizens are living a good, high-quality standard of life. Now, the idea that this £8 billion spread across 5 years that our report brings forward is the idea that it's not affordable is an absolute joke. The National Insurance Fund, as we have said multiple times, is going to be sitting at a surplus of £30 billion. Now, when that figure is disputed by the benches opposite, it's worth pointing out that this is going by the government's own actuary department. These are government figures. Now, in every one of these debates, just to finish up, I have said every time that politics is about choice. And I've lambasted the government for choosing to bomb Syria instead of paying pensions. I've lambasted them for spending billions on Trident. I've had a go at them for doing up this Palace of Westminster for £7 billion, which, funnily enough, we can afford. And I understand that sometimes that can get quite dull, you know, when politicians repeat things again and again. But we've now got a new one. We can now also afford to pay up for the Queen's House. We can now find the money to refurbish Buckingham Palace. So my question to the Minister would be this: are we going to be doing up Downing Street anytime soon? Are there any other houses filled with millionaires that need to be done up, that need a lick of paint? Because it's a ridiculous notion that we can afford to fork out money for palaces, literal palaces like this in Buckingham Palace, but we can't pay pensions. It's a joke. Now, our job in here is to represent. Our job is to maintain democracy, to make sure that people watching at home feel as though they've got a voice, to make sure that they feel there's people listening and standing up for them. To see, when you see the quality of the debate that we've just sat through, no wonder people are quite depressed and disillusioned with politics. We've debated this 5 times. We've had 240 petitions all across this House. People are affected by this. Now, every single person that handed in a petition has not just a professional duty, but a moral duty to walk through that lobby tonight and vote with us, because if they don't, as my WASPI mother would say, hell slap it into the next election.